Nigeria superstar actress who has been in the news since she got married to a man many said was old enough to be her grandfather, Regina Daniels on Sunday early morning night revealed that she was married to the Nigeria senator representing Delta North, Prince Chinedu Nwoko a.k.a. Ned Nwoko as a minor at the age of 17, a statement that allegedly accused the serving senator, Ned Nwoko, of apparent serious crime of child abuse, raping of minor, child molestation and forced child marriage because Nigeria constitution stipulates 18 years of age for someone to be considered old enough to be able to consent to marriage or sexual activities, and any sexual activity with a minor. The older person is presumed according to the Nigeria constitution as a criminal suspect who took advantage of the minor and liable for child abuse and other related crimes. Although Senator Ned Nwoko is a Muslim by religion, a careful study of the Nigeria laws indicated that Islamic law is only binding on Muslim and not Muslim and Christian or people from other religions. We are also aware that both of them are from Delta State in the south-south geopolitical zone of Nigeria that is predominantly Christians that practices 18 years as a statutory and customary age requirement for someone to be considered old enough to give his or her voluntary consent for marriage and other forms of sexual activities. Last month October, there was a heated debate at the Nigeria Red Chamber of the National Assembly where the senators bemoaned the high rates of child abuse and defilement of minors in Nigeria and recommended a stiffer punishment of life imprisonment for offenders. Specifically, according to the DailyPost newspaper publication on October 21, 2025, the senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Oshomhole, said defilement of a minor should be different from that of rape. For a minor, this is a kid that is not capable of consenting or otherwise and whose life can be destroyed almost permanently. Those involved in defilement should suffer great punishment. I propose 20 years imprisonment for whoever is found culpable for this crime without any option of fine, because I have seen cases of boys and girls under 5 and 10 years old being defiled by adults, he said. The proposal was, however, defeated by the majority in the Red Chamber of the National Assembly. Following the defeat of the bill, Senator Muhammad Adamu Aliero, Kebbi Central, proposed stiffer punishment of life imprisonment for any man or woman found wanting in the act. I want to propose that the punishment for defilement for minors be life imprisonment, whether it's a man or woman found culpable. According to Regina Daniels, before she became the wife of Senator Ned Nwoko, she was not into drugs or a drug addict. She alleged that it was Senator Ned Nwoko who influenced and forced her into the habits of taking drugs in order for she to be able to satisfy the senator's sexual desire or meet up with his sexual pleasure. Verbatim, Regina Daniels said, "Dearest ex-husband, thanks for breaking the crown you put on my head. No one knew us like we did, and I trusted you with all of me, even with my sex tape, which I pray never sees the light of day. Foolish me. When I married you at 17, was I on drugs? I thank God for time. My name is ruined for now, but I will rewrite my story. That narrative will be dead and gone. Now that I've let the one thing you had on me out, what else? It's time to fight with all of me in court. I'm not backing down now. Ned, how could you lie so openly and without even small remorse? You know my family has absolutely nothing to do with this. You have always tried to cut them off because of the bond we share, and now you are trying to make them look bad for no reason. Fine, I did drugs. So what? Is that even the issue between us? The moment we had a fight, you rushed to the public shouting, drugs, 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 because you knew it would make a perfect story for the media. Something dramatic enough to distract everyone from the real issue. You want to find a reason to arrest everyone around me so that I will have no one left beside me, no friend, no support, no safe place to turn to. Then, when I'm completely isolated and broken, I will be forced to come back to you because I will have nowhere else to go. That has always been your strategy. Break people down, make them weak and powerless, and then have your way with them. But guess what? It's not going to work this time. Not anymore. You say you want me to go for rehab, but you are the same Ned who always wanted me high because, in your words, Lem, sexier, when I'm high. You like me that way because it made me wild and romantic, exactly how you wanted me to be. Why don't you also tell them how you force yourself on me whenever I say no? Why don't you tell them how you lock me up, seize my phones, and suddenly declare me mentally unstable the moment I say I no longer want to be in this relationship? But once I change my mind just to get out of that locked room, suddenly Lem fine again, Lem no longer mentally unstable, and apparently not in need of rehab anymore. Why don't you also tell them that all your wives and ex-wives are on drugs? And can you be kind enough to explain to them why that is? Why don't you also tell them how you lock me up and doctors to inject me with drugs meant for people with bipolar disorder? Why don't you tell them how you take my phones for weeks just because you hate that I talk to my family a lot? You have never seen me act incoherent, stumble, or lose control, so just stop. Every problem we have had started when I no longer wanted you, whether sober or even high. Stop using the drugs narrative to create distraction. Tell people the truth. I understand, Shah. You are feeling rejected and hurt, and you are struggling to make peace with the fact that it's all over. Let me make this very clear. No matter how much you think you spent on me, it can never equal the value of the time I gave you, my prime years, my energy, and the career opportunities I sacrificed while being with you. And for the record, I would have filed for divorce long ago if there was ever a legal marriage between us. We were never married in any court of law, and no documents were signed. Leave me alone, Ned. Marriage is not by force. Love is not by force. Stop trying to control what no longer belongs to you.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Serving Nigeria Senator, Prince Chinedu Nwoko, well known as Edo Nwoko, has listed and narrated some of the things he has done for the family of his absconded fourth wife, Regina Daniels, particularly stating that his mother-in-law, Regina Daniels' mother, Rita, received 125 million nairas from him in the past 2 years alone, apparently challenging the mother-in-law earlier media statement that none of the senator's children looked like a child of a billionaire, and that she on her own spent her hard-earned money to support the senator's election, in addition to the $50,000 Regina Daniels gave to the 65-year-old Muslim husband from the southern part of Nigeria. Outside that, Senator Ned Nwoko apparently tried to explain why his brother-in-law, Sammy, was arrested and detained after his wife, Regina Daniels, ran away from her matrimonial home and decided to end the marriage with the serving Nigeria senator on the ground of domestic violence, intimidation and oppression that made her look like nothing in the house of the senator, who she swiftly replied yesterday that Ned Nwoko never married her legally, and she was apparently still a minor at age 17 when the Nigeria serving senator allegedly forced her into early marriage. Details of Regina Daniels' statements and the legal implications will be reported and published in our next news report for proper clarification and understanding, so that appropriate government bodies like the Nigeria Police Force will be held accountable to take decisive action for the protection of girl-child against sexual abuse, molestation, raping of minor and child marriage. According to the serving senator, Ned Nwoko, who attached 2 videos to his statements of Sammy, Regina Daniels' brother, having misunderstanding with some of his domestic staff and the policeman at his house. These videos show Sammy, Regina's brother, repeatedly coming to my home and harassing my children and domestic staff, especially whenever I was not around. His visits were often aggressive and disruptive. This is someone I sponsored through his last 2 years at the University of Ikpoma. I bought his musical instruments, rented and furnished a flat for him in Abuja, in addition to the house I bought for Regina in Asaba before our marriage for the use of all of them. I also routinely provided allowances to all members of the family, including her mother, Rita Daniel. Indeed, in the last 2 years, I have a record of transferring 125 million nairas to her alone. When Regina started her rehabilitation, there was a clear instruction by the doctors to strictly restrict people, especially her enablers, from having access to her. The therapy was arranged after I noticed troubling changes in her behavior linked to her dependence on certain illegal substances, including going for 48 hours without sleeping and eating every 2 hours. Unfortunately, Sammy, Destiny, some of their siblings, together with a few of their friends, notably Sonia Uche Montana among others, constantly defied those instructions. They would come into the house uninvited, sometimes forcing their way in, and would bring her the same drugs she was being treated for. Instead of helping her recover, they encouraged her addiction and completely frustrated the efforts of the doctors and therapists working with her. It is important to note that Lawrence, Sammy, his girlfriend NK, Destiny, Sonia, and others also took the same drugs as Regina. In fact, Lawrence and Sammy were the ones who first introduced and supplied these drugs to her. They were deeply involved in the habit themselves, and rather than helping her get better, they kept drawing her back into the same destructive lifestyle. I do not drink alcohol nor smoke. In fact, I am a vegetarian, so I found these characters and behaviors reprehensible and totally unacceptable. Just 4 weeks ago, I woke up around 5 a.m. and realized that Regina was in my room and on the phone. She was clearly high, and she knows that I do not want her in my room in that condition. I asked her to go to her room, and she told me that Sammy's girlfriend was in her room. I was alarmed and angry because that girl should never have been in my house, let alone around Regina, since she is one of the enablers who constantly bring her the substances she is addicted to. I told Regina that the girl had to leave, and one of my drivers dropped her off. 30 minutes later, Sammy came to my house shouting and demanding that I come downstairs to face him. He said I had no right to ask his girlfriend to leave my house. He was ranting and threatening, waking up everyone, including the children. I eventually went downstairs and had to instruct the security to physically push him out of my compound. The level of audacity was shocking. Without the influence of drugs, could he have been so bold and disrespectful? They did not stop there. On several occasions, they verbally assaulted and intimidated the police officers stationed at the house for security. The officers were simply following instructions to restrict access for the sake of Regina's recovery, but Sammy and his group would insult and threaten them. Whenever Regina wanted to go out and I was not around, she would become extremely hostile toward the police and domestic staff. She would shout, threaten, and use abusive words, insisting that she must leave the house no matter what. There were at least 2 serious incidents where she left home in the evening and did not return until the next day. The first incident, she returned in the morning around 9 a.m. When I asked where she had been all night, she casually said she was at a nightclub. When I questioned why she would stay out all night, ignoring my calls and refusing to answer messages, her response was, "You are not my father, so don't ask me where I was." I found out that she was with Cassie and that Cassie was staying in Regina's house in Life Camp. Cassie is the chemist and supplier of the group. I had to go to Life Camp at 6 p.m. to ask her to leave. With her around Regina, the therapy became a joke. On another occasion, on the kid's birthday to be precise, I returned home with the kids because Regina said she would stay with her Nollywood friends for dinner. She didn't return until 5 p.m. the next day. I took so much nonsense just for the sake of the kids. I also knew that drugs had a lot to do with it. As to her reasons for continuing with drugs, she will always say, just like her mother, that it is a celebrity lifestyle. They will always mention 2 well-known pop stars. Imagine the pain of a husband trying to help his wife recover, only to have the process sabotaged by her siblings and friends, the very people who should have been supporting her healing. This pattern of behavior made it almost impossible for her to recover. Each time progress was made, they would undo it by smuggling in the same drugs she was fighting to give up. The entire household lived in tension and fear because of the constant harassment, interference, and disregard for boundaries. It will be interesting to know her reasons for the violent behavior in the house the day that Sammy and other siblings came and attacked my staff and security, taking Regina away after doing a video which they posted the next day. Why did they do that video? Why did they post it? They simply planned and orchestrated a script all in my absence, regardless of the fact that my kids were there. They took away many things from my house, including one of my phones, money, and many other items. Everything that happened that day was in my house, in my absence. Nobody was beaten, and nobody could have contemplated that. It is blatantly false to say that I sent thugs to beat Regina in another house. The video that went viral was filmed entirely in front of my house by Regina's sister and her friend. It was a pure Nollywood scenario, in front of my property, in my absence. Sammy should have a life of his own outside of Regina and focus on building his career independently. When his brother Lawrence went to London a couple of years ago to do his master's degree, I personally sponsored him with $75,000 for tuition and upkeep. I sent him abroad partly to help him escape the toxic environment of drug exposure and bad influence around him at the time. Out of fairness, I offered Sammy the same opportunity, but he declined, insisting he wanted to remain in Nigeria to pursue his music career. Unfortunately, he has since been arrested several times by both the police and the EFCC. His behavior has become increasingly violent and unstable. What he needs now is total rehabilitation and professional guidance. Otherwise, his aggression and self-destructive tendencies will only worsen.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has said that the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has not forfeited his rights to defend himself before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja, after the judge, Justice James Omotosho, ruled on Friday and stated that Nnamdi Kanu's rights to enter defense has been forfeited and thereafter fixed November 20, 2025 for judgment, as Nnamdi Kanu was seen to have staged a defensive confrontation with aggressive loud voice, challenging the court that the federal government allegations against him has no legal basis or any aspect of the Nigeria law that backs such allegations. This, Barrister Oloyejimako, the organizing lawyer for the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, had on Wednesday said in a written and video statement posted on his X social media account that Nnamdi Kanu is competent enough to defend himself, especially given the political elements in the case which he understands better than any lawyer. In a press release issued and made available on Friday, IPOB, in the statement signed by Emma Powerful, said it strongly condemns the new round of fake news being pushed by certain Nigerian media outlets. The false claim that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has forfeited his right to defense in the ongoing trial before Justice James Kolawole Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, is a desperate lie meant to mislead the public and cover up an illegal process. Let the truth be clear: Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has not forfeited anything. What is happening in court is not a fair trial but a political show. Up till today, neither Justice Omotosho nor Chief Adigboyegba Awomolo, SAN, the government's lead prosecutor, has been able to point to any valid, existing law that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu supposedly broke. Their silence speaks volumes. It is a quiet confession that this entire case has no legal foundation. The core question remains simple: can anyone be prosecuted or convicted without a living law that clearly defines the offense and prescribes a punishment? The answer is written in Section 36(12) of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution. A person shall not be convicted of a criminal offense unless that offense is defined and the penalty therefore is prescribed in a written law. This means you cannot charge or convict anyone unless the law exists in black and white. No judge or lawyer can twist that. The Supreme Court has said the same thing many times. In Auko vs. Fagbemi, 1961, AG Federation vs. Abubakar, 2007, and NNPC vs. Fawahinmi, 1998. Where there is no law, there can be no trial, no conviction, and no justice. But instead of obeying this clear rule, Justice Omotosho keeps trying to force Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to open his defense, as if pretending there's a valid case will make it real. This is wrong. It's a misuse of power and a clear violation of fair hearing. You cannot force a man to defend himself against a ghost charge. So we ask again, under which law is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu being tried? What act of the National Assembly defines his supposed offense? And by what right does a judge compel a defense where no offense in law exists? Nigerians deserve honest answers, not propaganda. Everyone should read Section 36(12) and know their rights. It protects all of us from tyranny. Any court that ignores the Constitution becomes part of the problem, not the solution. IPOB fully supports Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's stand in refusing to legitimize this illegality by entering a defense. The truth is unshakable. No valid law supports this case, none whatsoever. Now, Justice Omotosho says he will give judgment without even allowing final addresses from both sides. That's laughable and unheard of in criminal law. If that is truly his position, then maybe he needs to go back to law school and learn what due process means.
Directives of the Supreme Court, judgment in FRN v. Nnamdi Kanu, in suit number SC/CR/1361/2022, delivered on the 15th of December 2023. The reliefs I'm seeking, my Lord, is a very simple. The expunging from the records of this very honorable court the purported plea of not guilty entered by myself, the defendant, here the applicant, on the 29th day of March 2025, the same having been obtained under deception, coercion, and in clear violation of Section 36(6)(a) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, and in defiance of the Supreme Court's binding directive in FRN v. Nnamdi Kanu. I'm asking my Lord for an order setting aside all proceedings conducted pursuant to the said defective plea, including but not limited to the scheduling of defense, witness summons, and trial dates, the same being founded on a nullity admonition. An order declaring that the 7th count charge, dated 29th March 2025, disclosed no triable offense known to law, having been founded on repealed statutes, namely the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013, repealed by the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022, and the Customs and Excise Management Act, Cap C45 LFN 2004, repealed by the Nigeria Customs Services Act of 2023, and in flagrant disobedience of the Supreme Court's order for amendment, and order striking out the charge in its entirety for want of jurisdiction, the same being incompetent and void ab initio. An order directing the immediate release of the defendant applicant from custody, there being no valid charge pending before this very court, and such other orders as this very honorable court will deem fit and just to make in the circumstances. It was dated, my Lord, the 6th day of November 2025. Thank you, my Lord.
Yes, and I think all.
Supreme Court said do something, you will do it. And you're just sitting conviction. And you wonder why God cost you the useless black. don't know what justice means. You have no idea what justice means. You don't know what justice means. Useless black African people. You don't know the meaning of justice. Your constitution says you cannot try anybody unless the law is written. Show me the written law. Show me the written law. I want to know the written law. Talk to me now. Show me the written law. Are you okay? Don't go close. Don't try that rubbish. Don't try it. Don't try it. Don't try that rubbish. Don't try that rubbish. Useless people. You don't know law. You don't know law. Your own constitution you don't respect. Supreme Court judgment you don't respect. Then why are we in the court of law? Why are we in the court of law, I ask? Nonsense. If you think Britain can ask you to jail me and you jail me, you are dreaming. You are dreaming. I'm telling you that you are dreaming. Nonsense. Your constitution says you cannot try anybody unless the law is written. Show me the written law. Show me the written law. Don't try it. Don't try it. Don't try rubbish. Don't try rubbish. Useless people. You don't know law. You don't know law. Your own constitution you don't respect. Supreme Court judgment you don't respect. Then why are we in the court of law? Why are we in the court of law, I ask?
Good morning.
I know you attended the proceedings today.
Yes, I did.
For Nigerians to know.
Yeah.
Just a summary of what happened.
Well, what happened in court today, for me, continues to be travesty of justice. I've always said it that in Nigeria there appear to be two sets of rules, one for the Igbo man and another for the other Nigerians. This is exactly what I saw in court today. First of all, my name is Honorable Obi Agocha. I represent the great people of Iguano, Umuahia North and Umuahia South Federal Constituency. I am the primary representative for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So I'm going to speak to you as a layman. I'm not a lawyer.
Osazuwa Nedo, bringing you the news in a more digital way. Osazuwa Nedo, bringing you the news in a more digital way.